Today we're going to walk through the steps of descaling or flushing out, cleaning a Navien tankless water heater. This is an NPE-240S2. First step is to power it off and to unplug it. Next, we're going to shut off the gas line, gas supply to the unit. Next, we shut off the water in and out of the water heater on the cold line, cold supply line, and the hot out line. The next step is to remove the cold water inlet filter, which is this guy right here. I think it's going to be a little tight, so I'm going to get it started with some pliers, and then I think things will get fun. Got my bucket here, because when this comes out, we should drain what's still in the water heater. I'd say that's less than a gallon, but it's still more than I want just falling on the floor. I'm going to set the bucket down on the floor here and just let it capture it as it falls out. So this is the filter that came out of the system, and to me it looks pretty clean. I'm not seeing much buildup or anything in it, which means we're probably good once this is done draining to put it back in. So I also have this garden hose here. This is just a little 6-foot hose that I think will keep this a little cleaner as far as processes go. Okay, I think this is about good. So our next step is to well, it's completely drained. We're pretty close. Just a little bit coming out there. I think for our purposes, we're good. So this is basically all drained out. So I'm going to put our this cold water inlet filter, and it's nice and clean. Didn't find anything in it, so I just reinsert that, screw it in. I'm just going to give it a gentle tightening like that. Then we take off these caps and connect Our hoses, like the blue on the cold, these are just clothes washer hoses. There's the blue one, and then we connect the red one to the hot side. So with our red hose connected here, we then run it down and we put it in the free end of it just down in our bucket. Just a 5-gallon bucket. This is my pump. This is the pump. And I've just got some tubing on the bottom just to keep the pump from sucking up any sort of debris or scum that comes out of the water heater. So the red hose just rests down in the bottom like that. My blue hose, which is connected up here, I'm going to connect to the pump. Now we've got our blue hose connected to our pump, and then that ties into the blue intake line. Next step is to get my cleaning solution, put it in my bucket. I'm just using this quick descaler from Quick Products, and it's dilute with 5 parts water. So I'm going to dump this into my bucket, and I'm also going to add a gallon of water plus a quart of water. So in goes the descaler, and I've got my gallon of water. Which would be a 4-to-1. Here's a quart. So that makes it a 5-to-1 dilution. Next, I'm going to open up my blue valve and my red valve. So this is going to allow the water, it's going to suck the water. When I turn on my pump, it's going to suck the water, push the water up into the system this way, and then it'll come back down and recirculate into the bucket from that side. So open these valves. Next step is to turn on my circulation pump, and it's just it just plugs in, and off we gurgle. You see the water level went down as it filled up all the tubes, all of the inside of the water heater, and it is just circulating. So the instructions say to let this run for at least 45 minutes. So I'm just going to let this thing run. So I started my timer for 45 minutes, and we'll check back when it's done. Not quite done, but just a note, I thought I would just dry everything off. When we drained this cold water inlet filter, it obviously let out quite a bit of water, kind of got all over everything. So I'm just going to dry off Here's the power line. I've got my gas line right beneath it here. Some of these, just to make sure we're not leaving water everywhere. While this is gurgling away happily, we're actually going to clean the air intake filter. Now, according to the instructions, the owner's manual, this is supposed to happen every 3 to 4 months. I haven't done this for a while, but that's all right. We'll get it figured out. So to do this, remove these screws from all 4 kind of corners of the unit. So one idea I had for doing this is every time I come down and change out the filters in the furnace, it's probably not a bad idea to pop this off. So if I'm just cleaning the filter in the hot water heater, I power it off and I unplug it. I don't have to drain it or anything like that. So I've got all 4 screws off, and this just comes off like that. Next, so that's the intake filter right back in there. So we're going to remove, come around to the side, we're going to remove this screw right in here, which will allow us to pull that off. So I almost got this out. Once that screw is out, then this whole filter just comes out. As you can see, I've got a bit of cleaning to do. So got the filter cleaned out. Now I'm going to reinstall it. And it just slides back into position. It's hard to see, but it slots in right underneath the top of right into the top of the case. There are a couple brackets that hang down, and they are sort of a guide at the far side. I'll zoom in here a little bit. Right in around here, the filter slides into almost a cup across the back and just tightens up there. So, the filter's clean. Now we'll just put the cover back on the unit. The filter clean, the air filter that is. Ready to put the cover back on, and it sets on. Like so. You have to line up the cover with the keypad, the control pad right here. So that sort of has to line up nicely. Then it just sort of stays there. And I will put the screws back in. All set. There we are. We've run our 45 minutes, and here's what our system looks like. I'd say the cleaning fluid is maybe a little cloudier than when we started, so that's probably a good thing. So we're done with the pump, so we're going to unplug it. And on to the next step. So the next step is rinsing this cleaning solution from the water heater. We don't want this nasty stuff running through our pipes in the house. So I pull out my red hose out of the solution here, and it's actually quite dirty. So I think that's a good sign that we've been pulling junk out of the system. So I've just kind of wiped this off with a towel here. So our next step is to flush our system. So I'm going to close the B valve, which is my blue valve right here, which shuts off connection to whatever the cleaner that's still in the blue line. Okay, well, that was kind of fun. This hose, with its small orifice, turns the water into a high pressure spraying system, which really isn't great for flushing the system. So I removed it, and this is the red one, and replaced it with this garden hose, which, just a short 6-foot hose, which has a much larger orifice. And I'm going to try it out for running my flush system here. Much better. There's still a lot of water going through that, but it's not spraying all over the place like the other one was. Okay, we've done that. We've run it for 5 minutes, and I've turned off the intake valve. So that's now shut. Still have water in my second. And there's some water here on the floor. It'll dry out. You'll set a fan to help it dry. On to the next step. Next step, we remove all of our hoses. The blue one ran into our pump. The green one I used to drain as we were rinsing out the system. Get a little bit of water that drains out of that. Then one additional step, well, our next step, we actually are going to open up our cold water inlet filter and make sure that there isn't any residue hanging out in there. I've got my green hose ready to catch what comes out. At least some of it. And it's just rolling emptying down into the drain. Filter looks good. I'm gonna go ahead and put it back in. Just a slight tightening turn, and our filter's checked. So we're ready to kind of shut things down, and so this is on the blue side, cold side, and I was just taking a look here. I thought, oh, I'll clean out some of this, but I also got some residue kind of left over from our whole cleaning process, which to me tells me that you can see some of that almost red colored stuff there means that process worked. So I'm just going to dry those out because these are going to sit for a year before I come back to them. And also, this is a good idea to clean out some of that residue. So this valve is shut. This valve, seemingly dangerous, is open. So I'm going to go ahead and close the red one, which is very important because otherwise, if I had to turn that on, this would start shooting out. And I'm going to close up that cap. The blue one's already closed, rinsed out, cleaned out. Close that off. And we are now ready to repressurize our system. We're now ready to repressurize the system. So I opened up that left-hand yellow valve, and so we now have water pressurized coming out of the heater. When everything is cleaned up and ready to go, don't forget to turn the gas back on so that this thing will heat up. It has an auto igniter, so there's not a pilot light. Just got to make sure that that gas line is on. So I'm just drying off mainly just my gas line and power. So we're ready to plug this back in, and the light comes on. Hit the power button, and we should be good to go. So that is our process here. What's left to do, I just need to dispose of this, which is, according to the bottle, it says it's biodegradable, non-toxic. So I'm just gonna slowly pour it down the drain here. Then I'm gonna run, so that's the cleaning fluid, and then I'm gonna slowly pour out this water that I used as part of my draining of flushing the system. So you can hear it chirping away, bubbling away, doing its thing. So a couple more ideas here. So as I'm looking at all this fluid here, I could just pour it out, or I could use my pump and run it out this way. That'd probably be messier. I think I'm just going to go ahead and just slowly pour it down the drain, but then definitely follow that up with a lot of water. And as you see down here in the bottom of this, you see some of the debris, some of the gunk that came out of this process. So I think it was successful. This cleaning stuff, this descaler, seems to have done a good job. So I rinsed out the bucket we used to clean, that all the cleaning solution went through. But I was thinking about my pump here, where it's got all sorts of stuff on it, residue from this. And I thought, yeah, probably not a bad idea to rinse that out. So I'm just rinsing it in here. I think I'm also going to turn it on and just run it for maybe 30 seconds, 15 seconds. We'll see how it does. Just to run water through it and rinse out the inside of it so that it's just not too messy. And the grit, I noticed in the other bucket as I was rinsing it out, just super fine, almost not quite like sand, but about the consistency, really fine sand was this the stuff that came out of the cleaning system, out of this whole process. So anyway, yeah, so I'm just going to make sure that my pump is also clean and good to go. I might also connect my other two hoses that I used and just have them recirculate the water, like I've got this set to just flow back down in, and just rinse out those hoses as well. So it looks like this was a really good idea. As you can see, that's pretty filthy water. So I'm glad I'm doing this and rinsing out this pump so that I'm not left with all of this junk inside it. One step towards the end here, once everything else is cleaned up and cleaned out, there's this small dirt trap which we'll check and make sure isn't full of dirt. Looks pretty clean to me. There's just a little bit of water that comes out with it. That just pushes back in there, and then this pin goes in like that.